Hey, how's it going? Today's build is going to be a little different. I'll give it a second and see whoever's going to join is going to join. But thank you, Wanagi, Opie Miha, Raina, Reginald, Mr. Dark Brother. Thank you for showing up. It's greatly appreciated. Today's tone isn't going to be my normal, happy, laughable tone. It's going to dig into something a little deeper. I want to see how many people are familiar with the gray man and how many people know how to become gray persons. Now, if most don't know what a gray person is, a gray person is an individual who can blend in any situation. One who fades into the background, who is not seen, very rarely heard of, but someone you would never be able to notice. So for today's focus, we're going to focus on being a gray person as far as survival goes. And we also might jump into something that might make you question yourself. So this might be a fun build. So does anyone know what a gray person is outside of my explanation or before that? Yeah, like I said, we'll see where it leads. Those who aren't here can watch it later. But on an individual level, those who are gray people, being able to blend in a situation where it's completely necessary, where you have to be able to blend in, especially with everything going on. I'm not going to take this into the darker realms of things, but some of these things are always a necessity. So, once again, thank you, Peculiar Joy. Indigenous American Leo, thank you very much for joining. Lisa Peters, thank you. But ultimately, we'll see where this one goes. Now, as far as being a gray person in a society today, many people blend in only because of their jobs, the things they do, but ultimately, people seek to be different from one another, which is great in most instances. But realizing being different makes you stand out. Standing out puts you and sets you out in front of a crowd. In society like we have today, that is something that can be very valuable. Chickahominy Roots, many blessings, my friend. Thank you for showing up. But ultimately, standing out can sometimes get you in a situation that you don't want to be in. So, as a prepper and as an individual who gets into prepping, and many people who should, I believe, should start preparing for whatever situations are going or the things that may possibly happen in the future. Now, for those who are preppers, I don't necessarily believe, and this is my belief, I don't necessarily believe people prep just to be preppers or just to say they have something or the things that they do have. I believe preppers are truly afraid of the individual that they are inside. And when I say that, I don't mean emotionally, I mean externally. We in this society are able to keep a decent mind frame. We're able to keep a very solid build amongst ourselves, but all of that varies. When you're dealing with an individual who, of course, is a gray man, someone who blends in, when the situation arises, the individual has to become, like I said, with the crowd. Don't ever stand out in a situation of preparedness. Don't ever try to stand out in a situation where the stuff is hitting the fan, for lack of better words. Those things will always point you out. Now we can get into speaking of numerous different parts of being a gray man, but for now we'll go over the steps of being a gray man. Number one is to blend in. Never step outside of your realm in a panic situation. Never stand up and about. Always try to blend in. Try not to be heard from very frequently. Being able to stand out could be life threatening in those situations. So, if things were to happen in an emergency situation, being able to get back and forth from point A to point B undetected is a necessity, something that's very, very thoroughly overlooked. So, it's something that needs to be taught. Being able to, whatever your preps are, whether they be food, water, shelter, firearms, etc., these things need to be downplayed. You don't let individuals know the existence of your stash, where it's located, and if you do have one. So, in situations that are very bad, say for instance, there's a situation where they're forced to hand out food and you have stockpiled food. Do you go get it? Do you go wait in line like the rest of the people and go acquire food that is being handed out or given? Yes, you do. Only because it gives the illusion that you are in the same situation as everyone else. An individual who may have preps, may have food, water, and shelter. If those things are being given freely and an individual does not show up to get these things, everyone's eyebrows raise and they begin to look around and wonder why a specific individual has not come to get these things day after day or evening after evening, which must mean either A, that person is no longer around, or B, that individual is prepared, which turns that person into a target. Moving on. People have to learn also about everything that you do gives you away. And it could be from the smallest things to the largest things. For instance, let's look at our daily habits. One, perfumes and colognes, things that we wear that make us feel good, that make us, of course, stand out. But these things also give us a very distinct scent. Oh, Epic Souls, Dinah Israel, thank you for jumping in today. But yes, these things give you a very distinct scent. So being a gray man just doesn't mean having the comfort of being able to blend in, but also masking your scent and your smell around others who may not have what you have. Being able to actually go and change your scent to match that of those who is around. So, say for instance, you're dealing with individuals who are, once again, in the situation where you have to get in and go grab certain things or essentials that are being handed out. Your scent will give you away. If everyone else doesn't smell too pleasant, but you yourself smell like cologne and fresh soap, the dead giveaway that you have something that everyone wants. These are natural commodities. People do not realize, but each individual has a scent, regardless of how you figure it or how you see it. Even children know your scent from birth. When you have a child, your child gets used to the things you wear, your fabric softener, the other different things that you may have. Say, for instance, your laundry detergent. Most people cycle the same laundry detergent because it's something they're used to. They don't normally switch these different things or try new fabric softeners unless it's not a very frequent thing. But animals and humans can pick up on these scents. So it's very important to understand how to mask your scent and how to be able to um, cover such said things. Now, the scent that everyone else is wearing is normally something you want. You do not want to stand out. You don't want to be above the crowd or be the fresh scent. Ultimately, you have just targeted yourself once again for things that many other people don't have, but will target you for because these are commodities and these are comfort. These things are for comfort and convenience. That's a terrifying thing. Individuals will go to any extent to be sure to prove that there is existence of life that they know of, something that brings them back to the comforts before, stuff hit the fan, or a simpler time in their mind. Because psychologically, when dealing with anyone, they want to get to a simpler time, something that calms them, something that makes them feel good. So, therefore, these simple commodities trigger relaxation in the brain. And why would people go after such things? Ultimately, because the ability to breathe, relax, and calm down. So, these things will, you don't want to let people trigger your sense, and you don't want to trigger people by your scent. Now, continue on. When you hug someone or when you deal with someone, has everyone dealt with an individual who they knew their scent by heart? Realistically, do you know an individual that's worn the same cologne, the same perfume, or use these certain things? And even before they approach you, you know who it is by their scent. Kind of a weird thing how nature works, right? So, yes, thank you. Jenny's Danielle, thank you. This got a lot of ego. Thank you for joining. But understanding individuals' sense. Many people don't pick up on these things, but if you've ever noticed, let's say, for instance, a hug from grandma or a hug from mom or a hug from an individual you're very used to, that scent relaxes you and calms you down. So think about that for 2 seconds. What would people do for a piece of their old life? They would almost do anything in order to acquire these things to give them back those comforts. So, we're speaking on parts of being gray men. I've gone into scent. I'm going to dive a little deeper in how to acquire things, when to acquire them, and uh, we'll get a little deeper. So let's see where this goes. But ultimately, before this is over, we're going to hit a real soft spot. And either A, you're going to like it, or B, you are going to question who you are. So let's go. Now, parts of prepping in gray man, well, gray persons, let me be politically correct, but part of being a gray person is to blend in. Now, understanding men generally have a different time blending in. Women have a harder time blending in because they tend to draw more attention to themselves. And this is not on purpose, but it's because of, who individuals are. So when you're dealing with men, you can't go out and, wear a muscle shirt while everybody's out there starving. You can't be completely beefed up and you can't have a lot of weight. You have to follow the pattern of those around you. If those around you aren't eating and they're slowly losing weight, then you have to slowly lose weight. You have to do things that show others what's going on. And you have to not be different from the crowd because any little thing can be picked up on and incite panic. Wow, Indigenous American Leo. I did not know they're looting in Mexico. Okay, now that one's different. But that leads to when third world problems hit a first world country. When you have third world problems of starvation, food rationing, food shortages, different things like that, especially in a first world country, no offense, my friends, but we are in the land of spoiled children. We come from a land so rich and plentiful that there's food at every corner, fast food, and there are stores that are constantly open where you can go get these things. You have a choice and abundance of different fast foods you can go eat at any time. But yet we tend to take these things for granted because we always believe they're going to be around. Being able to actually curve that and understand that not every country has these things. Actually, there are places in the United States that don't have fast food restaurants and corner stores on every corner. There are still individual groups who make their own food, who make their own clothing, We've come very far away from that because of the conveniences of man. Once again, another terrifying statement, but I want you to really reflect on the situation and I want you to think just for a couple minutes when you get the chance, or now if you choose to. I would like for you to sit and think about all the things that you have around you. Can you not get up? Well, depending on where you're at, because certain places are on lockdown, but can you not get up and go to the grocery store and get broccoli and cauliflower and apples, fruits, vegetables, and junk food? Think about that for a second. Your fast food, or even better, nowadays you don't even have to get up and go anywhere. You can have it delivered to you. So now your food is delivered to you and in a nice convenient sack, and you don't even have to go anywhere. Just have to pay a couple extra bucks for delivery. Creature comforts. These are comforts that third world countries do not have. So they understand how to become gray men. Now, if this was to all be taken away from you, and I'm not saying this in a fact that it will be, I'm just saying this in the fact that people should prepare for such events. Now, your creature comforts, looking into those and the things that you do have. And like I said, some people don't like being called spoiled. It's no offense to anyone, but ultimately, even if we're in hard times, we have certain ways we can get food, water, and or shelter. We have different government programs and subsidies that can help us out. We have other different means to being able to get help for these things. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just stating that sometimes we tend to neglect the blessings that we have being in this first world country and the wonderful things that we have access to. Fresh and clean running water, hot showers, a refrigerator that you can fill with food, regardless of your financial status, you're always able to shop for different necessities. These necessities can be, things as small as a pack of top ramen noodles or beef or any of these things. But ultimately, being able to understand that we have these is a wonderful thing. Now, we look at other places who don't have these comforts, and we see them all the time. Feed the Children, different foundations who do commercials, whether they be right, wrong, or indifferent. But in all reality, these things do exist. There are countries and places who have starvation, looting, riots, food shortages. Let's look at Venezuela when the financial system had collapsed. Many of the people did not know what to do. So, and look at what happened shortly after. Once again, another terrifying thing. So, when dealing with this, we have to look at what goes on. The financial system, in my belief, is an imaginary system that is set forth to make the strong weak. And the weak are able to control the strong through financial governance and by allowing them to have certain necessities. Now, the better the slave you are, the more money you get paid. The more money you get paid, the more comfort you have. The more comfort you have, the more those around you want those comforts, so they tend to fall in line to become exactly what you are. And once again, I'm not knocking anyone. This is how the system is set up, and ultimately, this is how these things are. You have to stop for just a moment and realize that these comforts aren't permanent. Actually, if you think about it, let's go back to the 1980s. Look at how families were and individuals were. Fast food in my family was not an everyday thing. It still isn't. We like to cook home cooked meals. But let's look around at the country, and I'm not going to say the country as a whole, but certain individual groups. Basically, certain places and certain, it's gotten to the point where both parents have to work. If there are both parents in the home and a lot of single parents, have to work twice as hard in order to make ends meet because, of course, the financial system is set in play to put those who don't, they'll sink them pretty quickly. So there's a lot of plots, but I'm not going to get on that one. I'll save that for a different build. Let me jump back onto being the gray man. Now, when being the gray man, of course, blending in, we do it in our jobs every day. You know, you go to your job and you blend in. Some people don't want to rock the boat. Ultimately, because of job security and fear of losing our jobs. This is natural human reaction to self-preservation. Humans have to preserve self. We will get into that a little later, and ultimately, I'll start to have you ask questions of yourself when it comes to preservation. Now, while diving into that, let's go ahead and speak on certain subjects as far as having your creature comforts taken away from you. And I'm not stating even having internet taken away from you. Many people want basic survival, but at the same time, if they canceled internet tomorrow, there would probably be massive suicides because of lack of Facebook and Twitter and all other social media. Not taking shots, I'm just being honest. Individuals live, breathe, and certain people are dependent on the dopamine that is brought to you by your local social media outlet. So, once again, save that for another live. And we'll be doing that later this week. It's going to be called Legal Dope, and it's going to talk about the dopamine that is given to you through social media and how it's already been plotted and planned, how these social media outlooks do have specific ways to keep you hooked on their product, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, or anything else. But once again, moving on. Yes, Jennifer Green. Yeah, being from a rural area. Oh, wow. See, fast food once every 5 months. That's great. Yagua, hopefully I pronounced that right. Yeah, fast food was something that was literally, we had it on the weekends, but we look at the dependency to fast food and the many different things that, where it's become a dependency now, and I don't even believe it's the actual individual who wants the fast food anymore. I believe that it is something that is added to the fast food. Some people say your body craves it, not because you crave it, but because there's something in the brain that makes you crave it. But, oh man, so many topics to go on. But we're going on the fact of the gray man. Now, when blending in and getting your preps ready, let's talk about certain preps and ways that you should be able to get them ready. Now, for instance, when you're thinking about disaster relief of any kind, don't prep for any specific situation. You want to prep for as many as possible, all wrapped up in one. For instance, okay, whether it's long-term plans or short-term plans, whether you're bugging out or bugging in, these things all make a variance. Exercise. Be sure to be strong when you're running, when you're doing these things. If you plan to bug out, you have to have enough strength. Also, don't overload your bug out bag if need be. Constantly walk around and carry your bug out bag with you and adjust the weight. Don't walk around carrying a 200-pound bug out bag if you can't lift 75 pounds. That might be some trouble. Also, it makes a lot of weight. Now, the questions that are asked come from a book. Where will your family take shelter if need be? 2, do you have a backup shelter plan in place or in case something happens? 3, if your shelter has a legitimate water source that you have easy access to. Once again, another very important question. 4, is your shelter warm, dry, and able to be guarded from attackers? That question will handle shortly. 5, do you access both food and shelter in the same location, and are they separate from one another? Once again, something else to think about. 6, how many people will you have in your group? Ultimately, understanding that when you prep, you want to prep for not only just yourself, but those who you believe that you are going to have with you. 7, do you plan to keep a place for your food secure and dry? Wonderful question. 8, will you have different stockpiles in multiple locations or caches? 9, how long will your stockpile last? Now, there's always a way to go about that, and mathematically, you can do it with a simple calculator. Judging off your water, your food, current intake, what the body needs, you'll be able to do the math and, you know, go from there. There's caloric calendars that'll tell you how many calories you're going to need. There are also, of course, individuals need 6 8-ounce glasses of water. So you have to look at how many ounces are per bottle of water, et cetera, et cetera. You can dive into that one a little later. Now, this is definitely a question most people don't think about. What is your plan for replenishing your stockpile? Any tools or weapons you need to survive long term? Once again, not getting into the doom and gloom, just something I want people to think about. Do you have a comprehensive first aid kit? So these are slight things to think about. Ultimately, asking yourself certain questions about not only your survival, but having the ability to be grateful where you're at and what you're dealing with. Stocking and preparing, going out and being able to sit down and rely and understanding that things are not always as they seem. Now, dealing with gray men and gray women, gray people, my apologies, need to be politically correct. Dealing with those who are grays, being able to blend and distance yourself, or being able to, this becomes once again a necessity. Ultimately, when you're dealing with individuals and standing out and being a leader is not always the best thing. Please, while you have the chance, download Sun Tzu's Art of War. And also another great book to read, 48 Laws of Power. I don't recommend it to use in manipulation, but it will ultimately let you know when you are being manipulated. 48 Laws of Power, great read. Now getting into things that will make you question yourself. Now, I'm not going to direct these questions at any specific person, only because these questions will ultimately make you think. And what I want you to think about is not necessarily what is going on per se, but I want you to ask yourself, what are you capable of? Once again, that is a terrifying question. What are you capable of is a question that many people don't ask themselves. For instance, you yourself may know, you may think you know yourself. We attempt to know ourselves, but it's easy to get to know ourselves in a situation where we have food, water, and all these other wonderful things. But let's take that away and let's see how well you really know yourself or those around you. Now, if you will, prepare, and we're going to take a trip. I want to see what you think, and I want to see how you personally feel about this situation. Now, let's take away all of our commodities and let's take away all of these wonderful things that we have: corner stores, grocery stores. Let's take away fast food restaurants. Let's take away that, the different things that we have access to. Let's go to bare minimum and let's see what you think then. Now, ultimately, do you know what you're capable of? Do you know you, or is it the commodities that you have that allow you to be you at this current time? Think deeply and sincerely on that. This is a question I want everyone to reflect on. Are the commodities that you have part of what makes you you and the calm state that you are in? Think very, very, very closely on that before you choose the answer. Individuals believe that they know their self. but you know yourself while you have access to food and clean water. Now, those who are parents in the crowd and not even parents, what would you do to sustain food and water for your children? What would you, what extent would you go through to make sure that your family and your survival was ultimately top priority? That, my friends, is a very deep question. People don't think about that. They don't really think, would you or could you or what would you do in the event of a Venezuela, or in the event people have trouble when they can't get toilet paper? Now, let's say you can't get food. What ultimately are you capable of? That is the question I wanted to ask. And that's initially why I started the live. The live on Grayman was about blending in and being able to get where you need to be and to be able to do the things you need to. But these are in situations where food is rationed, things are going, and ultimately to be able to hide yourself, masking your scent, masking who you are, masking these different things. But let's get to a situation where ultimately you don't have any of these things. What is a parent willing to do to feed their children? And what is an individual willing to do to feed themselves? Scary thought, right? Now we've watched movies where people resort to cannibalism, and we've watched movies where people will take food from children to feed their own children. We've seen all types of movies, but logically in our minds, we believe that we are not capable of these things. I do not say that we are or we are not capable, because I myself do not know what I'm capable of if it comes down to feeding my children. And I want you to ask yourself that also. I don't need any direct answers, just time to reflect. Now, there is a monster that dwells within each and every one of us. Also, another scary thought. But that monster would do whatever it takes and will convert back into any means in order to feed their family. And that is something that is highly, highly destructive. Many people only know who they are because of these commodities that are handed to them, and not handed, but earned in this situation. Cut off the lights. Now you have to figure out A or B, fight or flight. Once again, a very interesting topic. The body knows only two things, fight or flight. In the world we live in today, our fight and flight has been ultimately deterred, where we no longer know the situations to fight or fly away. Once again, this is being dead serious. And thank you very much, Wiz. Those who are those who have specific diets, can you hold those diets if there's no food around to hold those diets? And I don't mean, like I said, not going towards anyone specific, because everyone has a different diet, whether it's keto, whether it's vegetarian, whether it's vegan, whether it's meat eater. I know some people who only eat meat. I forgot what they're called. I don't know if it's a meatitarian or something, but individuals who only eat meat. Are you able to hold your diet? And would you break your diet if it meant your survival? Why are we able to keep these diets? Why are we able to be the things we are? Is it ultimately because the commodities that are put before us on a day-to-day basis? Think that through. And I only tell people think this through thoroughly because the answers will not come until the situation has arisen. You can mentally prepare yourself all day for the fact of starvation or anything like that. But ultimately, when it happens, you may be able to fast. But when your child is screaming for food, what will you do? What monster lies beneath you? What animal or how primal will you go in order to feed your child? That's where the convenience leaves. That's when you know who you truly are. Ultimately, the most primal urges will be answered to be able to feed, to be able to preserve oneself, to be able to do things like this. All those questions will arise because the people we are right now, and as much as I hate to say this, are based off of our commodities. We wear masks because of the beautiful things that we have and the abilities that we do have to, once again, hunt and not necessarily even hunt like that. I mean, go get food. We're able to go get food, so our primal needs are pushed down. So who wants to go hunt when you can go buy a burger for a couple dollars? Or who wants to slaughter their own chickens when you can go right down the street and buy one slaughtered, pre-cut up, defeathered, and everything has been taken out of the insides. And all you have to do is pay a couple dollars for it. Now, we don't realize the convenience. All we see is the end product. And I don't mean that, to those who farm and they do take care of their own animals and butcher and all those other good things. I find that those who do that generally have a better respect for their food because ultimately they see what goes into processing the food, not only processing, but raising the food and slaughtering the food. It's this is my personal experience only because I do this myself. But being able to raise and slaughter your food, you have a respect for not only the food, but you have a respect for the animal. And those who generally tend to do that are less likely to waste their food because they know what goes into it. But let's jump back because once again, I'm getting on another topic. Now, in the land of those who has so much, but we yell that we have so little, what would you do in a crisis of Venezuela? What would you do if you were in a country where drug cartels were taking over and you had to run and leave your home, taking your kids and those with you? These are questions that our first world country does not have on a regular basis. Yes, in certain neighborhoods, things are bad, but ultimately, these are areas where they have to flee their countries. So, just a thought. Now, deep down, do you know the animal you will become when you have to and when self-preservation comes in? Because eventually there is no flight anymore. Eventually, there is only the urge to fight. When your adrenaline levels raise, your cortisol levels drop, and your brain goes into panic mode, and you're backed into a corner, they say the worst thing to do is to poke a cornered animal because it can no longer run. All it can do is attack. So being put in that situation, what extent will you go through? What are you capable of? And what will go through your mind? It's amazing, right? The things we don't think of and neglect because it's not part of our day-to-day life. So that's what I bring to the table for each individual in this chat and each individual who is listening to think about. Who are you outside of the commodities? Take some time to meditate. Take some time to talk to the creator and many different things, because even in certain situations, I I myself, I have my own spiritual and my own spiritual belief system. Others have their spiritual belief systems and certain things they choose to and not to do. Having faith and holding on is something that's wonderful and that empowers you, something that brings you life, something that makes you feel a certain way. Faith can ultimately tame that animal or that beast. But that's what I believe. And this is once again my own personal opinion and me being an individual who tries to prepare. This is what I look forward because I'm not scared of anything else, but I'm scared in a situation. I prepare and get these things that I need, and I encourage other people too, only because you don't want to see what you're willing to become when your family and your life is on the line. I speak to many different Vietnam vets and different individuals who dealt with war times, and each of them had a very good lesson. and also things people don't think about. I'll get into that. My apologies in one quick second. But ultimately, outside of that animal and preparing, the first thing that I noticed people ran for when they had the opportunity was guns. Why did people run for guns? Can anyone answer that in the chat? Just a very awkward question. Why do people run for guns? The answer is self-preservation. You are protecting your goods to preserve yourself and the ones around you, of course, your loved ones. You and others who grab firearms, which I completely understand. There's nothing wrong with wanting to preserve yourself and your family. But ultimately, I knew individuals who bought firearms before they bought food. So does the beast within them intend to take other people's stuff? Because they know that grabbing a firearm will ensure their survival. Yes, that is correct. At Wanagi, fear. Many people are terrified of having someone come for you or your food or your family because ultimately individuals know that it's going to happen because everyone sees that there is a beast standing across from you. The friend that you see, the person walking down the street, the individual the mother who is walking with the infant child. These people are very, very dangerous when it comes to situations of survival and feeding their own. That is why I encourage people to stock up. That is why I encourage people to grab a couple extra bags of rice or beans or things like that, ultimately, because the beast within has to subside as long as it's fed. And if you have plenty and others have plenty, and we all work together to have plenty, there is no point in those beasts coming off the chain. Because once you let that beast off the chain, it's very, very hard to put it back in its cage. Because ultimately, once it hits its most primal point, bad things happen. That is why I prep. And that is why I tell people and those in this chat, I tell you to prep. And I tell you not as far as a hoarding standpoint, but grabbing a couple of cans of tuna, maybe canned chicken, possibly even grabbing some rice, beans, corn, raise a garden, get out, get your garden going, be able to get out and know how to plant, the seasons, how to do different things and different styles of planting. For instance, your above ground gardens. Learn what to eat. Opie Mihai did a wonderful build on these things, along with Love Legacy. He was in there, and they were showing different things for survival. But know what to eat, know how to eat. Not only that, like I said, get on your calorie calculator. Look up your height, look up your weight, look up, your energy levels, and figure out how many calories you need, or your caloric intake is something that individuals who are bodybuilders, they do all the time, whether they're bulking or cutting, but it's there for you. It'll give you an average on what you need to eat per day. Also, look at the calories in your food. Be able to figure out if you're eating, what type of carbs you're eating, what type of meats you're eating. If you are a vegetarian, what type of vegetables you're eating. People have to understand that in a situation like that, there won't be supplements to supplement your diet. So therefore your diet will have to come from whole foods, meats, eggs, etc., etc. So you will have to have a stable diet. Learn what a truly stable diet is. Many people focus on taking vitamins, but how many people actually take essential minerals? Another good question. We look at our water and the bottles of water that we have, and those who are lucky enough to have wells, believe me, I envy you, because well water is actually some of the best tasting water I've had, well and natural spring. But we look at our bottled waters and we look at our purified waters. We look at our distilled waters. Yes, they work to hydrate you, but ultimately they have no minerals. And when you're drinking water in the wild, just as anything else does, you need minerals. You need your minerals just as well as you need your vitamins, because a mineral deficiency will destroy you quicker than a vitamin deficiency will. So that's, food for thought. Now, there are certain nutrients and people, when planting and when growing certain things, it is very important to understand that certain sprouts of things are packed with 50 times more nutrients than the actual full grown product, such as bean sprouts. Getting into bean sprouts and other sprouts of food, broccoli sprouts, and many other different things, look into the nutritional value of those things in sprout form versus full form. Things that make you go, hmm. Also, be able to get things in abundance, whether you take $5 or $10 a week and you go down and pick up a 10-pound bag of rice and maybe some top ramen. But once again, be sure they're comfort foods. I'll dig into that one a little later. But ultimately, that is the biggest thing I want people to realize. The beast. The beast that you see is not, well, the beast that you hold inside is not the beast that you see every day. You look in the mirror and we have the ability to shave our heads. We have the ability to style our hair. We have the ability to do so many things, brushing that we take for granted every day. Taking a hot shower. Think about that. What if someone was to take away not only a hot shower, but the ability to shower, period? Restrooms, being able to use restrooms. Waste, being able to throw away our trash and our garbage. These are things that people take for granted because they're things that are often put before us. But let's look at how people feel whenever trash day comes and you hit a holiday, or especially one between Christmas and New Year's, when it starts to pile up outside. Yeah, people aren't too happy then. But look at all the commodities that we have. Look at all the wonderful things that we have. This is very interesting that people take for granted every day. Me, myself, I enjoy going camping. I'll go camping and I'll go out for a week in the woods by myself or with family, either or. And like I said, I like to keep my cell phone on me for emergency purposes only, but I prefer to rely on nothing but a fishing pole, a knife, a fire starter, and a little bit of kindling I take with me. Ultimately, I like to test myself and physically see what I can do. It's one of my best pastimes. I really have to go back out this year and start. Also, putting yourself there in different seasons. You don't just want to go when the season's right, and you don't want to go just when it's perfectly warm and 78-degree weather on a sunny day. No, challenge yourself. Nothing that would hurt you or put you in physical danger, but ultimately challenge yourself. Get out there when it's a little colder. Get out there when it's a little hotter. Go out there, boil your water. Drink the water that you have that you boiled. Learn how to distill your water. I will be doing a live probably in the next couple of days where I have to get the pictures together where I'll show different ways to distill and ways you can purify your water. Now, these things are very important because if something were to happen tomorrow, eventually, day after day or week after week, something is going to come out of you and you may not like what it is. So prepare, be mentally sound, be physically strong, be emotionally stable, and gather around people who are with you, but make sure you have enough. Make sure you have enough to feed those around you. And this is something that I do want to mention. Friends will become enemies when they have to feed their children. Lives are not looked at equally when it comes to my child's life versus someone else's life. These are the things and the questions. And I'm not saying personally, don't think this is I'm taking it that route, because ultimately I believe the children need to eat first, even if an adult has to starve. But there are individuals who wouldn't mind taking from a family with children in order to feed theirs, because once again, it's self-preservation. This isn't something that's talked about very often. So I will teach and I will get on here. I'm still going to do my stories. I sincerely apologize to all those that I haven't done stories lately, but I will get back on my A game again. I do promise. But ultimately, I did want to introduce people to something that I believe, and the time is right. Um, because where we're in and the availability where people are mentally right now to be able to sit down and think with all that's going on, whether you're on lockdown or whether you're on house restriction or the different things that have happened currently, I want you to think and to understand and honestly put it in your head that you never want to be caught like this again, where you're forced to run out to the store and grab necessities and stock up because you're not the only one doing it. Everyone is. I went out to the stores just to watch. I didn't go out to the stores to buy anything because there are people who need things more than myself. Ultimately, I had prepared, but I was watching how people reacted. Some people reacted in terror. Some people reacted with anger. Some people surprisingly reacted with love and were helping one another. Those are the people who you want to look for. But once again, self-preservation is it's key. So, you know, I've been on for about an hour. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes and I want to discuss something else. Stockpiling ammunition. Wonderful idea for me. And the reason why I say that is because those who stockpile ammunition, many people are not avid shooters. And 100 bullets in the hands of a novice is not worth one bullet in the hands of someone who knows how to shoot. Think about that. Train yourself in different ways. An individual could have 1,000 rounds and stockpile and all the guns in the world, but one well-placed shot turns everything that that individual has into the person who just was the shooter. So being able to let off loud noises and while you're hunting, hunt in silence. Please do not buy bulk ammunition and go out and let off a 12 gauge in the middle of nowhere thinking no one's going to hear it. Ultimately, as I explained on Opie Miha's channel earlier, when you hunt and you go, and when you hunt and you go and you let off a shot, you're actually marking where you're at. It's not hard to find you. So therefore, if you're hunting, an individual can listen to the amount of shots you let off. Normally, if you're hunting for deer, you will let off one. Either you're going to hit a kill shot or you're going to trace it, or you're going to have to track the animal ultimately because deer won't give you a second shot. So figuring out the sound of a firearm, how many times it's been fired, you can figure out if it is a shot for food or if it is a shot in defense. If someone rings off many shots, you will normally find it's a shot for defense, which it could be from bears or anything else. But if an individual only lets off one shot, you will find it's for food. Letting off that one shot allows me to figure out what you're shooting from or for. So from there, whatever you have hunted can become mine along with whatever you threw over your shoulder. As you make your kill with your deer or whatever other animal that you happen to kill, you will shoulder your weapon. As you shoulder your weapon to throw your kill over your shoulder, then you are in trouble from that point. Ultimately, because you yourself have left yourself vulnerable to whatever attacks I feel like I would like to put, or not just myself, but anyone else. So this is not to panic people or to put people in fear. So I sincerely apologize if I've done any of the above. I just really want people to prep and to be the way that they were back in the day. This live is not to scare you. Well, actually it is. I'm not going to lie. This live is actually to scare you into prepping, into getting your stuff so we can run a barter system. So individuals who have something won't be forced to let out that beast. If I have corn and you have potatoes, let us trade. If I have If you have something I need, let us trade. Ultimately, the system of bartering worked for a very long time for the indigenous peoples of all lands. They were on a bartering system before they introduced the monetary system. Ultimately, a wise man once told me that money is a way for the rich and the weak to control the strong. I believe that. So, getting all this out and being able to explain to people how to do things, what to do, and for people to prepare is very important. We have Kyle in the building. Thank you for jumping in, my friend. Actually, I was going to wrap this up here shortly, but what would you like to add, my brother?
Not much. I just chimed in at the right time. You was going in, bro. Hey, speak your speak.
Yeah, man, I've been at this for an hour, man. I really want people to understand, like, this isn't a scare tactic. This is for people to prepare. Collect your rainwater, grow a garden. Um, you know, I have to be honest, depending on the season, if we get a really decent spring, I raise fish in a pool in the backyard and I pump out the water onto my garden so I have fish emollient and my garden sprouts up. Grow things that are essential, because if you can raise your fish in a pool, then that means you always have access to free fish, and also you know what they're fed. You have control over what they eat, so you're not eating, you know and just be very selective. I know some people who raise tilapia. I know different people who raise different types of fish, but ultimately learn how to do these things for yourself. Don't be dependent on the grocery store to feed you, because if the store closes down, then therefore you're at the you're pretty much at the will of those who provide your food. If you cannot provide your own, you are nothing, and please forgive me, but you're an infant at that point. They've put us in an infantile state where us and being able to provide our own food, we don't have the time. This is a time we've been forced, and as much as I hate to say this, many of us are adult infants. And I say that not in a way to knock anyone. It's because we no longer know how to hunt. We no longer know how to fish. There are many of us who don't know how to. There are some of us who don't even know how to hook a worm, and that's no due disrespect to anyone. So anyone in the chat who doesn't know how, please don't take that as disrespectful. I'm just saying that in a world that's gone primal, where stuff has hit the fan, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't hunt, you don't eat. If you can't clean your food, you don't eat. The rules that we have today do not apply in a world even 100 years ago. You had farmers who raised and killed their own livestock. You had people who saved and jarred and canned their own foods. We didn't have everything that we have. So think of the commodities you have are actually new. They are very, very new to what we know. All these stores and widespread things. No, you would go to the market, you would grab some seeds, which I know down south they still wholesale seeds. Yes, actually, Miss got a lot of ego. We have, um, yeah, Brian Medina, duckweed. Those things are very, very essential. You know, duckweed grows fast, and it's also a great fish food. I've used it for fish farming. I used to raise tilapia. Ultimately, it was just for you know, I used to raise tilapia and I would give them to different people around the area. I'm not a big fan of tilapia myself. Um, they have some that are crossbred with bluegill, but I also raised bass and I've raised a couple other different type of fish. And that's pretty much what I did. Sheba Lolo Indigenous, many blessings and thank you for showing up. But ultimately I'm not saying just change tomorrow, because these are changes that have to be made because of our commodities. I'm just telling people the change will be hard, but start to become self sufficient little by little. And as you grow, this is something that takes time and effort. These things will change you and change how you look at things and also how you have respect. Respecting your plants, respecting your animals, respecting the thing that surrounds you, being able to show that love to these things. Because ultimately, at the end of the day that is your food source. You will have a different respect for life, for electricity, for video games, for all these things we take for granted every day, for your internet and your cell phone. Challenge yourself, you know, challenge yourself and get out there. So it all varies. And you have to be able to think outside the box, because the box that we've been put in, a lot of us are still reading Dr. Seuss books. They got good rhymes, but ultimately they're not getting us anywhere. The old story is once a man, twice a child, but it's funny if none of us ever grow up, or what we see as grown is not really grown. So, I'm up on my hour. I do want to thank everyone for coming out. I mean, it's greatly appreciated. And I hope everyone, picked up a lesson from this. Yeah, Blockstar. I definitely want to do a live on that too, about the advancements in technology and how they have actually dumbed us down. Also, I did mention that I will be doing a live called Legal Dope. Okay. Legal Dope will again be talking about the dopamine that is supplied to you by different social media outlets in order to keep you addicted. That's why dope is called dope. So social media and different individuals from different social media platforms have come out and even admitted that they have purposely set it up for you to become addicted to these social media platforms. And for them, even if you don't get attention on your social media, they have artificial intelligence that'll start to give you likes and different things like that. So, people would be just become very reliant on that. So ultimately, I could go on forever on prepping, but I don't think you guys want to hear that forever. So, like I said, I sincerely want to thank everyone who came out. I want you to think and really think about who you are, what you are, and what makes you you. Is it the commodities that you have? These are just my ending thoughts. Is it the commodities that you have? Is it the things you have around you? Is it the things that are, is it the things that you have access to? Being able, oh, peace and blessings, G West. Nice to see you made it. But is it the things that you have access to that make you you? And if these things were taken away, would you still be the same you? Would the light in your eyes in the mirror, when you looked, would it be the same if you didn't have access to this stuff? And when life gets hard, does that glimmer that we have, is your faith and your hope going to help you jump over the fires that are going on in this world right now? Are you going to sit back and really think about and be grateful for the things we have in this first world country, even in a time like this, when there are third world countries where people are starving and diseased all the time? Stop taking the beauty and everything that you have for granted. Because when it's taken away, and when fear overrides you, like it's been doing to this country and ravaging this country lately, this is the real test of character. This is just a test. The real, we haven't seen anything yet, because ultimately we've been blessed. Not necessarily just spoiled, but we've been blessed. So I want people to realize that you live in abundance. You have wonderful things around you. You have the capability to become self-sufficient in most ways. Don't squander it. Don't just throw it away like you don't need it and don't care about it. Don't take the fact that you have access to seeds and good food and these different things and being able to raise your livestock and squander it and throw it away. Because people in other countries are doing just as much with less. Just because we're spoiled, and that includes myself. Just because we live in this first world country where we've been so blessed and fortunate, don't think that your blessings can't be taken away, whether you have a belief in a creator or not. If the creator blesses you, the creator can't take it away. Be well aware of that. So I just want to tell everybody, thank you all for coming out. Once again, I will be doing more lives. Look at yourself in the mirror. and understand behind those eyes, for some people, there's a monster. Just don't let that monster come out. Be sure to have enough food, water, and different things stocked. Go grab you some Sawyer minis. That's what I prefer. It's called a Sawyer mini, Sawyer mini. It filters up to 1,000 gallons of water. Teach yourself how to prepare for any events, because there are many events, even in this country, tornadoes, different things that are going on that are tearing down people's houses and homes. And these people are forced to start over from scratch. So just imagine, if that was to happen to you, or imagine if your kid was hungry, or the many different things. So prepare for that. Prepare and be ready, because ultimately that can be your life or death. And it's your reality. Your reality is what you make it. If you don't get out and prepare for it, then ultimately you're doomed to have a horrible reality. So on that note, I want to tell everyone, stay blessed, look up different things. Actually, AC Dub, I'll be getting on that. I was going to do a list of fruits and vegetables that you can cut and regrow, so you can more or less have a constant supply, such things as pineapples, green onions, celery, things like that. So we'll dive into that in another build. Kyle, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I'm gonna be popping my pineapple tomorrow.
Hey, there you go, my brother. Get it in. Everyone, learn and teach yourself what it is, because learn and be prepared. And like I said, remember, 100 bullets in the hands of a novice is not worth one arrow or one bullet from the hands of a professional. That's a thought. That's something to think about. Don't live in fear, because a life lived in fear is a life that isn't lived. Be prepared, stock up, grab candles and different things. And if you guys would like for me to do a live on other preps, just certain preps you should have just in case, candles, flashlights, etc., I can do that, and would definitely rock that one out with Opie Miha, and just a couple others who would like to join. At Haas, it's My Patriot Supply, but right now they're running low because everyone did a panic buy on those. Yeah. Block Star. One thing that I do recommend, I don't want you to leave the live, but let me see if I can do this real quick. These are called Light Me. It's very, very important. Let me see. It's Light Me solar power lights. I'm gonna share my screen and show you what it is. Yeah, Light Me solar power lights. I'm just gonna bring up the site on Wish real quick, so you can let me do a screen share. Share screen. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing, so hold on. There we go. Bam. Okay. Let me know if you can see that or not.
Yeah.
Okay, those are called Light Me lights. Those are 1.5 watt portable LED. They come with their own solar panels connected. That's what you see. You can get them in a 4-pack. Don't necessarily have to buy them from Wish, but they come in a 4-pack. The ones that I have, off one charge, last 16 hours, can give you 16 hours of light. And when I say they're bright, they are bright. So ultimately, if power does go out, or you're in a situation where power goes out, I would recommend buying a solar powered light bulb, like a Light Me or some other source. Also, it doubles over as a micro USB charger that's used, that's solar power based. Also, another good thing to get if you have the opportunity is there are small solar generators. I have 3 of them myself. For some awkward reason, I like to collect solar generators. Yeah, it's actually pretty nice. Let me see if I can look that up. Okay, is the screen still sharing, or did it cut off?
Yeah, it cut off.
Okay, good. Let me look up this other thing. 1 second. Okay. Now you can find very cheap solar generators. Like I have one called an Engine Star, but they make a couple different ones. My Engine Star generator, let's see if we can look this up. And I'm not plugging products in here. I'm just telling people to get these things if they can. Hold on one second. Let me look this up and I'll share this window. Okay, Engine Star solar generator. Okay. Well, you can grab anything. Titan Solar, Ground Zero, Yeti. You know, it just depends on what's in your budget. I'm not a big budget guy, so yeah. Let me see. Shopping. Zero. Let me see. Here we go. I'll just look up something. That's a Westinghouse. Let me see something that's pretty decent. There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me screen share again. Okay, now we're gonna go to, I think it's the Engine Star window. Share. Okay. Portable solar charger. Okay, let me click on that one. And okay, I probably shared the wrong window. Okay, let me just screen share. Here we go. Share. All right, it's a portable solar power charging generator. Retails for right now $218, but you want to look at what it does. This one, I'll scroll down, has an input voltage of 110 and 240, frequency, USB output 5 volts, which is a speed charger. It's battery lead acid, which I'm not too fond of those, but ultimately it is what it is. Now, if you look, this is a very small one. Battery full, 1 light bulb, it'll charge for 32 hours, 2 bulbs, 16, 3 for 10.5, and 4. Also, this can charge your cell phone. It can charge laptops, portable laptops, different things like that. So look into solar power chargers. Like I said, mine is Engine Star. Fortunately, I was able to get it on sale. Let me see if I can find it. Engine Star and Amazon. Okay, that's a bunch of letters. Should have figured out. Okay, hold on. Let me close. Let me get this one. Engine Star, Amazon. My apologies. I'm trying to look these up. Amazon. Well, here, we'll just go through and we'll jump on Amazon. So bear with me. Okay, Amazon, solar generators. It's not showing the window, is it? Okay, Kyle, is it still showing the page or did it jump the page?
1 second.
Oh, no problem. You good?
Yeah, there's no. I don't see a page.
Okay. Let me go here, and I'll just share this. Oh, dagnabbit. Here, screen, share. Okay, I'm just going to share the screen. So we're going to go to your solar generators. When you look into your solar generators, you want to look at not only price, but as I scroll down, you want to look at watt hours. Those are very important. You have ones that have 150 watt hours, some that have 400 watt hours. I have 2 400 watt hour solar battery banks. Ultimately, they can be charged with your house. So you can plug them in from your house, and as you charge them, they will hold a charge for a very long time. I'm not a big fan of lead acid, so I do prefer lithium batteries, lithium battery solar packs. Lead acid batteries normally have a memory. So when you charge them, if you only give them a 50% charge and cap it there, then it will remember that. But a lithium battery pack will remember where it will remember where it was last charged. Oh, North Indian Wolf. Many blessings, brother. Good to see you stopped in. But yeah, different things like that. Rock pals. So yeah, I'll drop that in the chat. Give me a quick second. Actually, once again, I'm not sure how to do this stuff, but just hop on Google, and if you can, Google solar lights. Also get into you can jump into many different solar products. Those things will help. Just afford what's in your budget, and don't like max out your card trying to get these things. But like I said, I like them. They're kind of a hobby of mine, so I stock up on them. I take them for camping. Also, you want to make sure you get one that's not too heavy for you. You have to look at what you're really dealing with. You can get some that are pretty small. You can get some that are larger. You can get some like this, the Wagon EQ. That one has solar panels built in. A lot of these you'll find the solar panels are sold separately. But here we go. Now, if you just need a small one that'll do lights, like this Gut Rays portable solar powered LED energy system, that one, it's $56. I'm not saying how much power it'll give, but it's got 4.5 AH, 6 volts. Then you got the Goal Zero Yeti. That's always been a really good name brand. Goal Zero Yeti power station, 428 watt hours, rechargeable generator, backup power source, up to 300 watts, can do a 1200 watt surge. It's already got a built-in AC inverter. So there's a lot of things that you can get. Look at your options, weigh your options, and try and figure out what you want. But once again, I do not recommend, I don't recommend lead acid batteries. The memory in a lead acid battery, and if you don't get a full charge, you're stuck with that. So if you get a 60% charge and then you are only able to get a 50% charge, your battery is stuck at 30%. Lead acids don't last as long. Lithium ion are wonderful. I'm gonna go ahead and close this window. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do as far as preparing yourself. So I jumped into that, but there's a lot of different channels that do lithium ion batteries, could tell you more about solar than I can. I'm not a professional. I just enjoy it. But once again, ultimately, I do want to thank everyone for coming. I hope that you never actually have to see that beast that resides within. I hope you enjoy, the commodities that we have, and that you are very, very blessed and understand the blessings that we have in this country, because even there are certain tent cities in, California and different places where people live in horrible conditions. Oh, David Corey, actually, I was just on Amazon, but ultimately you could just look around. You'll find good deals, some on Wish, some different areas. Be kind of careful with Wish, but Wish does have some great deals. But once again, I want to thank everybody. Many blessings. Kyle, you got any ending words?
Yeah, just don't worry and be happy, as a wise man once said.
Did that wise man make a song with Robin Williams?
It's quite possible.
But yeah, y'all stay blessed. I hope this was very informative. Send it around to those who you believe need this information. And once again, you guys let me know what you want to do. Give a shout, drop a line, and tell me what you believe the next discussion should be. But once again, we'll get back on prepping. I will start up the stories again, but I'm going to need some help on legal dope. That dopamine is crazy. So
AC Dub said he wants to chop it up with that. He used to be in telecommunications.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Let me go ahead and let me go ahead and drop my let me see. Could you drop your email for me?
It'll drop me completely off if I do that.
Oh no, I was saying I was asking matter of fact, AC Dub, I'll drop mine and just go ahead and give me a holler. All right. Go ahead and there's my email. Give me a shout and we'll get it worked out. But once again, thank y'all. Many blessings and enjoy. I'm cutting this live off now before I end up going for another hour. So
Don't let it be up and now.
so I help y'all out, man. I appreciate everybody coming through. Stay blessed, and I'll see you on the next live. Hopefully people will actually get my alerts. People have been saying they don't, but you know, it is what it is. So I'll catch y'all later, man. Peace and many blessings.